Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Female Firesides podcast. Today, we're shaking some things up. It's going to be a little bit of a different conversation. I have the perfect guest on to accompany me on this journey. So we're going to call this a casual Friday chat. So instead of interviewing my guest and talking about how they kind of got started in their business, we're going to talk about magic in our businesses. So without further ado, my guest today, her name is Karolina Boldt, and she is so many things, and it is so hard to describe her in just a few words. But in short, she is a mentor for misfits. She refers to herself as a liberation catalyst, and she's here to shake shit up. And I'm so excited to have you here, Karolina. How are you?
I'm excited to be here. I'm great, thank you.
Before we get started, I'm actually going to light my candle and burn a little bit of sage because that's what we do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've got some lavender that I'm burning today. That's going to smell really nice. I'm very excited about it. Yeah. So I think today what we're going to discuss, and we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but I think we're going to talk about like magic in our businesses and how we are different, because we are very, very different in our businesses. Everyone's heard of mentors and coaches, and everyone's heard of digital marketers, but we are so very different in our roles. And I think this is a great opportunity to talk about that and why that's so important, and why that's important for anyone listening who's looking to work with someone who's a different kind of soul, who's not just like your run-of-the-mill kind of entrepreneur. So happy Friday, Karolina, even though we're not recording this on Friday.
I have a question. Like, first off, I'm wondering, would you refer to yourself as a witch when we're talking about magic?
Yeah, I would say so. And that was a hard thing for me to like come out as, because I was raised very Christian, and it was like, oh my gosh, witches are evil. Mm-hmm. And turns out witches are actually just empowered women who wander through the forest and move with the moon and like play in waterfalls.
And who know things in their bones.
Who listen to their intuition, right? Yeah. So once I kind of learned that, I was like, so they're really not evil. They're not these crazy devil worshiping, like, Satanists kind of like giving their soul to the devil kind of. No, that's actually not witchcraft at all. In fact,
I mean, if a man comes along and offers his soul as an offering, I'm like, yeah, sure, take it.
I love that so much. So you and I have known each other for, is it going to be 2 years this fall?
It's going to be 2 years soon. Yeah, I think so.
2 years this October. So Karolina is part of the FXCK YEAH community, which I've talked about a number of times on my Instagram account, which is just an amazing community, free community for women. And every 3 weeks, they do these incredible events called the Nourishment, where you literally just show up as you are and you answer the question. They put you in breakout rooms of like 2 to 3 women, and you answer the question, what do I need right now? So if you need to scream, cry, laugh, celebrate, whatever that is, like, it is such an amazing group of women to just support you, whatever is going on in your world, without judgment, without anything like that. And that is where I first experienced Karolina. Was in one of those nourishments. I had started following her on Instagram, whose account, by the way, I will say, is Disobey with Grace. So if that account,
yeah, that's important.
If that doesn't scream at you, like, go find her now. Disobey with Grace. And yeah, you posted about it, and I joined, and I was like, these are my people. And it's just been amazing ever since. But I don't know that, like, how did you become something that's so out of the box? a liberation catalyst. Like how did that transformation, how did you bring that kind of into your business?
I think the raw material was my upbringing, also like super Christian family, super strict parents. I've been working very hard because I grew up on a farm. And like I felt like I was being raised in a cage, like no own opinion, no own decisions, just follow the orders and like take care of the animals and like of all the stuff in the household. I felt like I kind of gotten lost in some Cinderella nightmare-ish kind of thing. And I worked so hard. When I finished school with like 19, I felt like I was ready for retirement. I was so exhausted. And I didn't even know how to move in the world without all those like, you know, constrictions and like feeling caged. And I didn't know how to make informed choices and like good decisions. So I've been struggling for my entire 20s, I guess. Just sprinkled in some cancer and battles in court to like keep my child and all kinds of funny, crazy shit that no one would wish for.
Wow.
And so there was this hunger inside of me, like physical hunger, emotional hunger, spiritual hunger for something that felt nurturing, that felt supportive, that felt like I could be myself, like I could learn how I am. And like my parents always refer to me as like being the difficult one.
I am very familiar with that myself.
Like I was expressive, I was lively. They would beat it out of me and just like try to silence me whenever like possible. But like, I mean, I grew up feeling pretty muted, but it never went really away. And I think in my early 30s, I started weird shit, maybe some planetary transits, I don't know. But I had kind of really I started a blog. I started working with a mentor who like founded this huge magical community. I worked for her. I mentored with her, and I just started writing like a mad woman. And that was, I mean, I've been in therapy for many years, but writing and like really processing all this stuff that felt so unfair, like so hard, and so like I didn't deserve this and like I deserved better. There was so much anger inside of myself and I didn't know how to work with that. And I felt bad for being so freaking angry all the time. It was terrible. I was like, where's this coming from? Where can I put it? Like, I can't function with all this anger in my system. And I found a way. I channeled it in my writing. And like I published countless articles and people found me and they were like, who are you and where have you been all my life? Like there's someone who's vocal about all these things, who expresses their emotions. And I was like, I couldn't care less anymore if I'm received well or if someone just like hates on me. And like, you don't have to be in my corner, you can go somewhere else, because right now, like I'm old enough, I'm in my 30s now, and I'm done with this shit. I'm too old for this shit. I'm not longer putting up with like being muted or catering to other people's expectations, because it's suffocating. Like I'm dying while I'm breathing, and this is not okay.
I love all of that. I so relate to so much of that because I too like was silenced really as I mean, I was like, and I truly believe my parents at the time thought that they were doing what was best for me. Sure. But like, it was so not what was best for me. Like even in high school, I was like 17 years old and they were telling me that I was not allowed to pick my own friends, that they would tell me who I was allowed to be friends with.
As if that ever worked.
That ever worked. And here I am like rule breaker extraordinaire. And I'm like, oh, is this how this gonna go down? Like, and I'm just like, that does not work for me. You know, that kind of thing. And like my mom, she would force me to write Bible verses every single day before I left for school. Like I was in high school, 17 years old, forced me to write Bible verses. And she thought that if she just forced me into this little box, forced me into religion, that I would eventually come around and like accept it. And I did the complete opposite. So like if you're wanting your kids to be one way, forcing them to do it is never going to be the way to get there, ever. But yeah, I felt like you said, writing is like such a great way to like not just like express yourself, but to get all those yucky feelings and yucky experiences and just shit out of your system. It's almost like a release for me.
Yeah.
When I'm writing, like I get experiences out, bad memories, things that, you know, of my past that I don't like, or just any kind of experience. Whenever I'm feeling a strong emotion, that's when I typically write my best. And when I write and like get that out, it's like, oh, I feel so much better now. I'm sure you would agree.
My rants are infamous. Meanwhile, like every time I'm like, oh, like this is shit, this sucks, and I'm sitting down and just start writing, and then I hit post and I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing? And people just love it. I thought it would be like inconvenient or, you know, not accepted to rant all the time, but there's a lot to rant about.
There is.
I love to like create these channels for myself, like these spaces for myself where I can just be myself. And sometimes I'm candid and like, oh, everything feels amazing. But oftentimes, like in these times, shit just sucks. And we are not supposed to just like suck it up and like be quiet about it. That's how we fucking got here.
I know. And I'm the same way. Like sometimes because I feel like a lot of what I show like on Instagram, like how I'll share, like, cause I'm a digital nomad, so I'll share a lot of that. But like, I feel like I share a lot of like the shit stuff, and I'll be like posting something. I'm like, aren't they sick of hearing about this yet? But they never are. They never are, because if you're going through something, chances are other people are too. And when you talk about it, when you put light on that situation or that feeling or that emotion or that experience, it's going to draw people out of the woodworks to like engage right back with you and to share their stories as well. So, you know, anyone listening to this today, I very much encourage you, if you've been kind of hiding yourself on social media or to, you know, your email list or however you show yourself to your people, I encourage you to get vulnerable, share the hard shit, because it really does inspire other women when we hear, oh my gosh, this person's going through something similar that I'm going through, and they're talking about it. I don't feel so bad now. I thought it was just me. Like, it's so inspiring when we hear these stories from others. So, I mean, I know I'm going to keep sharing all the crazy stuff and talking about uncomfortable stuff. So I'm curious. So you asked me in the beginning, I'll ask you now, and I think I know the answer. So do you consider yourself a witch?
Hell yeah, I do.
I love it. I love it. So, because you and I are very different, and we've kind of touched on that a little bit. So you said like the easiest like term for people to digest about you is a mentor for misfits, but it's so much more than that.
I think I really distilled it down in the name of my brand that came through me while I was drying the dishes in the kitchen, like wondering like what's the main theme in my life. And I've been asking myself this question for many years, and a couple of years just in my kitchen on a fine summer day in the afternoon, I'm standing there with a towel in hand and like a plate in the other, and suddenly it hit me. I'm like, you know what? I fucking disobey with grace. I've done this my entire life and this is it. And so I tried different things because like my last name is really cool. It's bold. So I experimented and called my Insta and my brand the bold thing, because I encourage people to do the bold thing and to tear the rules to shreds and to write their own rules, and do the scary shit and the uncomfortable shit. And I'm there all the way holding their hands. I'm like, yeah, you've got this, and I'm here and you're doing great. And then they come to me like, but I'm so fucking scared. And I guide them through the scary bits to the point where it feels good and where it feels like they can finally breathe and be themselves. Like it feels like they're living in alignment, sometimes for the first time in their lives. So that's what I do. And for that to get there, you have to disobey with grace. You can't keep playing by the rules that are imposed from like outside forces and entities.
Alignment is a big thing for me.
Right.
It is for a lot of women, because we go through life, you know, and I've talked about this before on this podcast, but we're taught as women from a very young age that the only way we are good women is if we are good for other people first. I know. And so we're brainwashed with that our entire lives. And then we get to our adult lives, and so many women, I pretty much every woman I have spoken to in the past like 5 years are all on the same page. They're like, something doesn't feel right. My life doesn't feel right. I'm missing something. I feel called for more. Like all of those, like, you know, buzz trend words, but it's happening. And it comes from the fact that we're trying to be these roles for all these people in our lives, and we're neglecting ourselves. And so finding that true alignment and truly living for you, like that is something that is huge for me. And sometimes digging.
Yeah, it was such a game changer for me. I was like in a relationship, in a safe relationship for 9 years, and I was like adapting so nicely, and I would like cater to everyone's needs. I would raise a child, I would have a dog, a beautiful garden. We didn't have a picket fence, but the feeling, you know, was very similar to that. And towards the end of those 9 years, I started like getting like feeling really unsettled, and like I started to get rebellious, and I was like, this is not it. Like, this is nice, but this is not for me. And like my partner then said to me, like, what's happening with you? Why are you so rebellious? Like he said, I like the old you better. And that was when I knew that something had to change. Yeah. And that was like the beginning for me to break free from that life, from all those bullshit stories that I'd been taught, that I had internalized, and started wondering, so, but what is my story? What story do I want to live? Like, I want a plot twist, like now.
Yeah. I like to say that I tried the white picket life, and it wasn't for me. Because I did. Like, I was married for, I guess it was a little over 7.5 years. And something just always felt off for me. I felt like I just went nicely into a little role. You know, I was in this nice little, neat little package, like, you know, here I am, wife extraordinaire, I cook dinner, like, and it was, I mean, I still love to cook. Like, that's just the thing I love. But like, yeah, it just felt, it felt like I need something more. Something more, you know, I can't.
Me too.
Other than that.
I was the perfect mom, the perfect partner, like the perfect host, like everything perfect. And I was really young back then. Yeah. And I don't know if you can imagine, but I was like really like turned inwards and shy and insecure, and felt like, am I really deserving this? Because I was like, on paper, I was living the perfect life, a really nice life. And I had everything, and still I was unhappy. And that's also like a pandemic among women, because many women don't feel like they are entitled to speak up or to change something, because on paper, like, there's nothing to complain about. You've got a good life, like you really got it good. And to be like, yeah, that's right, and I want more, or I want something different. Like now I'm spending time with 3 men, and I'm exploring like my kinky side, and I've never felt more alive and more powerful, and I'm just taking what I want. And sometimes I'm looking at myself and I'm like, who are you? How did that happen? How did I go from there to here? Like, what happened? But I love it. Like, it's so liberating to be able to be myself, to have friends who love me for who I am, and who are like, who don't feel intimidated by me being loud and like demanding and like emotional and like all those things. Basically, me being in my feminine.
Yeah.
So we need that, and if you're listening to this and you're feeling like you don't have that, stay close to us and like get into the spaces that we're holding, because that's where the good shit happens, and where you get the support and the connections that are nourishing, and like where you can come as you are and are celebrated and embraced for that and held and witnessed. And not like, oh, what is she doing? Like, what is she thinking? Why does she want this? Where all these desires come? Like, this is dirty. This is nasty. Like, this is not like appropriate. I'm all here for all the inappropriate stuff.
Yes. Oh my God.
That's the spice of life.
My mom's favorite thing to say to me growing up was like, I needed to act ladylike. I wish you all could see my face right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, you are, but like, yeah, no, it's like ladylike. Like, ugh, I just want to gag when I hear that phrase.
I mean, if we want to, like, if we fancy to act ladylike, we can do that. We can slip into it like in a silky dress or something, and then next moment we're like, no, but I want to get dirty, and I want to have fun, and I want to have like other things that are not ladylike at all.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I feel you so much.
Bless your mom.
Yes, I know. God love her. Rest her soul. It's just, you know, and I just going back to, you were mentioning like being around people that don't judge you, that just accept you, that truly love you. So like I don't speak to any of my mom's family anymore. Because of the fact that I was constantly, like, every decision I made in my life, I was always met with some kind of, oh, well, you can't be doing that. Oh, well, why are you doing that? And then I had to sit there and I had to justify it at every family event or every phone call. I had to sit there and try to persuade them as to why this was the best decision for me at the time. Like, for instance, I did not take my ex-husband's last name. Very glad I didn't do that now, but I never, ever wanted to take another man's last name. I just didn't. And my aunt literally sends me a message and goes, "What would Jesus say?" I was like, what?
You fucking kidding me?
And it got to the point where like talking to my family in any capacity left me in a rash. I would get off the phone with them and I would be covered from like, just like my chest up would be all these red splotches. And I'm like, my body is having a visceral like reaction to speaking to them. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to stop for the foreseeable future. We'll see where this goes. And that was, I guess, almost, was it 4 years ago? I haven't spoken to them since. And every day I still wake up taking a deep sigh of relief that like, oh my God, I don't have to justify myself to anyone anymore. And that has been so liberating.
Holy shit.
That's not how that should be. Like, I know people who have very supportive families who like, they may not understand why, you know, the son, daughter, whatever, make certain decisions, but they're totally there to love and support them regardless. I just never experienced that with family ever. So I'm like, okay, well, until they're ready to support me and love me for who I am, they don't get this. They don't get any of this.
Yeah, so you can be your witchy self and they don't get freaked out by it.
Yeah.
It's a win-win.
Ever around someone where I have to explain or justify anything that I'm doing, like they are not my person. They are not my people. And I'm just not into it. I am 38 fucking years old and I am exhausted from that. Like, I am no longer living my life for anybody else. I'm living as a digital nomad. This has been something that I have wanted to do my entire life. And I'm celebrating, this is my 6th month as a digital nomad. I've lived like this for half a year. Like, who am I? Like, you're right. It's so incredible though, that when you disobey and do the things that society says that you shouldn't do, but you feel called to do anyways, when you do that, the doors you open up for your world, I mean, infinite possibility. Right?
It's so much more fun. It's so rewarding.
It really is.
And it just feels good. It feels like coming home to yourself, finally.
Yes, coming home to yourself. That is exactly it. That is exactly it. That is exactly how I have felt. Like, you know, as much as I had like that white picket lifestyle, you know, I had the husband who would go to work every day and come home, and we had the house and we had the pets and we had, you know, I just felt such a calling for more. And if I had stayed in that marriage, I would not have this life right now. And I'm so grateful for this life that I have right now and these opportunities that I have to do whatever it is that I want.
It's like your future self is thankful for your past self for the decisions she's made for herself instead of for others.
Yes. Yes.
So that's nice if you translate this to where you are at now, for those who are listening right now. It's really like if there's a situation that feels weird or off or that just sucks and you're struggling, for one moment, just ponder the question, like, what would your future self need? Like, just ponder, who do you want to be? Who do you know to be? And how do you imagine your future, like your best and most powerful, empowered future? And then use this as like a true north for the decisions you are going to make in the now. Because at one point you're going to look back and you will thank yourself for having made that difficult decision, but that was necessary.
You know, something that I've started asking myself, I read Kara Alwill. She wrote, she's written a lot of stuff, but Girl Code is one of them, and Girl on Fire is another. And she is all about like ripping up the rule book and living life by your own terms. And she said one time, I follow her on Instagram. She's the Champagne Diet, and she was doing like a Q&A. People were asking her questions in her DMs. She was sharing them and answering them. And someone asked like, how do you make decisions about something, or how do you know which way to go or what to do or something? And she was like, think about like just what you said. She's like, think about what the highest version of yourself, like that version of yourself that you want to be, that you are striving for, that place that you want to get to in your life. Think about who she is in that moment and how she would respond and how she would act, and then go do exactly that. I was like, oh, this is good. This is good stuff. So I've been, and it's been really helpful. Like if you're like struggling with anything like in your life or in your business and you're not sure what to do, just like you said, stop and ask yourself, what would the highest version of myself do? Like what, how would she respond if she was in her highest level of power in her life? How would she respond to the situation? And you're going to know, like your intuition's going to know.
Yeah. That's something, I mean, when we're talking about how we're bringing magic into the work we're doing with our clients, that's one of the things, to get them in touch with their intuition more again.
Yeah.
Because if you're only living in your head and trying like the male hustle oriented, competitive, performative thing, and then keep wondering where you're feeling exhausted and depleted, the answer is right there.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah,
it's so important to be connected with your body, like with your pleasure and like with your feminine side, and get out of the head and connect with your gut feeling, with your intuition.
My new mantra. So I typically have a mantra for every year, and sometimes they're kind of like funny mantras. Sometimes they're serious. And this year, actually, within like the past 2 weeks, I've come up with a midpoint, a midpoint mantra for the year, since we're halfway through the year. And it is literally, if it is not an immediate fuck yes, it's an immediate fuck no for me. Like if I immediately am not jumping up and down, I don't care what opportunity this is in my life or my business, if I'm not immediately like, yes, this is great, this is perfect, I love this, then it's a no. Because your body knows. Your body.
It's similar Totally. It's similar to what Maren and Dina, like the other two members of the Trinity who founded the Fuck Yeah community. That's basically like our mantra too. Like, if it's not a fuck yeah, we're not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, whatever it is, if it's not a fuck yeah, we're not going to do it.
Yeah. No. And I've like, oh my gosh, I have learned so many hard lessons by not listening to that. There are consequences to not listening to that intuition, my friends. There are consequences.
And there are also consequences to going with your fuck yeah. Because like, it's not like, oh, if I only go with what feels great, then life will just like feel like a walk in the park. And that's not true either.
Yeah.
And I know it might be triggering to hear us talk about like, you know, if it's not a fuck yes, I'm not doing it. And I'm just going to do this from here on out. I know I've been there where I found like women who were talking like that, like incredibly like triggering, and like, yeah, it's easy for you because you're there already. But, you know, we all had that point where we made a decision, like, I'm not putting up with this any longer and I want something different. And it's one thing to make that decision, but then you need to follow through and you need to take actions that support you to go in that new direction. And I know it's uncomfortable, and I know it's not like that one golden pill that's the remedy and the cure all, but that's what coaches are for. That's what experts are for. That's what communities are for. Just bring yourself into the spaces that encourage your journey and that help you to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, you know, talking about like working with the right people, you know, in your life or your business. Like if you're looking to work with a business coach or something like that, it's so important to really look at who you're working with, interview them, you know, go through, interview a number of them before deciding, because obviously it's going to be an investment, but you want to make sure that you're working with the right person as well. And like for me, you know, I'm obviously a digital marketer. I build websites. I help people with their email marketing. I'm like a social media shrink is what I call myself. But oh my God, it is so much more than that. Like I'm like your business soul excavator.
Yes, you are.
You know, and it's like, and so people will come to me sometimes thinking that I'm going to help them with their content with social media. And we don't even start with the social media part. We start with like, why did you start your business? Talk to me about the essence of what you want to achieve in your life, in your business. Like, let's go there first. And people are often confused by that, but it's like, oh no, I have a method to my madness. There's a method here. And that's kind of a little bit of how I bring the witchiness into my business, because I'm so much deeper. I'm such, you know, I feel like people talk about being a soulful entrepreneur, and I feel like it's kind of gotten a little like, I don't know,
mainstream.
Yeah, annoyingly trendy. But it's like, it's so true for me, and I know it is for you too. Like we are soulful. We feel into every person we work with, every project we take on. Like it's more than just like, oh, someone's coming here wanting help with their life or something. Like it's just so much more than that. It's hard to convey it.
Yeah, I'd go as far to say that soul comes before profit for me anytime.
Yeah.
And I know there are so many on paper successful people who are feeling so burned out and so dead inside because they are trying to keep a soulless business alive. Oh, and it makes all the difference to go from a soulless endeavor, business, life, whatever, to a soul-led one. Because that's like where you feel those sparks inside, where you come alive again. And it doesn't matter if you're making tons of money with it in the beginning or ever. Because to me, it's so much more valuable to feel alive and to like go on adventures and to just enjoy your life experience. And the rest will follow.
Yes, no, I love that so much. I think, you know, working with either of us, you know, whether someone works with you and like figuring out life paths and their alignment and stuff like that, or someone works with me to help them with their social media strategy, like they're going to come away with so much more than just those things that they came to us with. Because we're like, I went to school.
We put a spell on them.
I went to school to be an archaeologist. And while I'm not a physical archaeologist, I feel like I'm like a soul archaeologist. I will bring your personality out.
And you know what my past was? I grew up on a farm, like growing crops and plants and stuff and animals. And now I'm growing people. Like that's what my friends told me. They were like, you went from growing crops to growing people. I just like have that intuitive sense of what nutrients and what like fertilizers and like what like light conditions they need to thrive.
I love this is the best conversation. You grow people.
Not mine.
I'm a soul excavator. Like it's why are we not doing a group program? I feel like we need
Yeah, we need to do one because we both get our hands dirty in the soil.
Oh my God, it's so true. Oh my God, I love that so much. No, and I think, and not to like toot our horns, but fucking beep beep. This is needed. This is so needed. Like,
yeah,
we don't need another like top tips for boosting your engagement on Instagram. Like we don't need those kinds of, you know what I mean? Because it's not like, oh my God, I hate the numbers game so much. And you're probably like, you work in social media and you don't like the numbers and the algorithm. No, I hate that. It's like a rat race. Like we don't need more of that. We need more of female-led businesses that are heart-centered, that are soul-focused, that are helping women, not just with either the strategy of their business or the, you know, figuring out which path to take in life, but it's uncovering their true selves, getting to the bottom and the core of that. That's what is needed, getting to them, unleashing them to the world, because I don't know about you all listening, but I am so sick of the egotistical male energy in the fucking world, the Putins of the world. Like, I'm so done with that. We need to be loud, shout our feminine energy from the rooftops. And I just like all of that. That's what we need. We need that so much.
Yeah, we need men. Like I love men, but we do our own thing business wise, and like to kind of crush patriarchy, because that's something men have fucked up as a whole. And I love how much fun you can have with men, and I love how much fun we can have as women, and how much magic and good stuff we can work in the world if we're not trying to be like men.
I know.
It was a total game changer. I think I read the book, what's it called, from Mama Gina, Pussy, A Reclamation, last year. Totally recommend that book. It was amazing. It was mind-blowing, because I thought I was connected quite well to my body, to my pussy, to my pleasure. Mm-hmm. And I read that book and I was like, there was some kind of raging desire and like an aliveness in my body and in my pussy, and also in the ways I work with my pussy. I remember I had a male client last year, and he, like, before our session, it was in person, he was like, you know what, I'm a bit upset with you, and I'm like, I'm angry and I need to get something out. And I was like, yeah, sure. And like I was sitting across of him, like touching my thighs and like focusing on my pussy, and like with a smile like a little Buddha. And it took maybe 2 minutes, and he was like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm getting so much calmer now. Whatever you're doing a great job with that. Whenever I call with clients that feel a little, you know, that are having problems, or that are trying to project stuff on me, or that are like really a bit complex with all the stuff, and I'm like, this is really complex and potentially draining, I will just sit in front of my mirror, like with my panties off, and just look at my pussy while I'm having that conversation. It makes all the difference. makes all the difference. We get into a flow, we find solutions, it's easy, it's yummy. And I'm like,
Incredible.
I had to read that book last year. I was last year days old when I learned what you can do with like your feminine magic, and how important it is to be really plugged into your own pleasure, to your own power and femininity. It doesn't have to be hard.
I love all of that. I think I know the book you're talking about, but I'm gonna need to read that.
It's incredible.
Because
you love it.
Just, like, recently started exploring the world of pussy power.
Isn't it the best?
This could be a whole other podcast in
yeah.
itself, but like, I mean, we're taught to stifle our pleasure, right? We're taught that, oh, a woman's pleasure is not important. Like, we're taught, you know.
Yeah, rather write down Bible verses, right?
Oh my God. Oh my God. And so it feels, at least for me, it's felt like, wait, what? Pussy power? This sounds so weird. Like, what is this kind of a thing? But
in
like,
the beginning, I found it disgusting. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, go away.
Yeah, but I had a call with a friend who does like readings and tarot and things like that. And she was talking to me about that and like tapping into that energy. And that was the first time I was really like introduced to that. And I was like, interesting. This is fascinating. So I need to uncover more of this. So if anyone has recommendations for me, send them my way, because I am all about learning about harnessing the power of the pussy.
Yes. We need to talk some more.
I know. We should make
all
this
things sex and kink. Next time we're talking about sex and kink.
We should make this a semi-regular series. Every so often, come in, have a casual Friday. We just talk about like the crazy shit that nobody else talks about.
The juicy stuff.
Well, thank you so much for being
It was my pleasure. I said pleasure.
And being willing to do something different. Of course, you would be willing to do something different.
We did the disobey with grace thing. What did you expect?
I know. No, it's great. I love these conversations because they're so different and they don't follow a script. There is 100% no script. We talked for maybe 2 minutes about a loose subject that we were going to discuss, and then it just kind of flows from there. So I don't script any of these ever, and that's the beauty of it. I loved it. Who would have known we were going to end with pussy power?
The best.
Well, thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for my next episode, which will be next week. Episodes drop every single Friday. If you love this podcast and you're enjoying it, please leave me a review. I would love and appreciate that so much, and share it with anyone that you think would benefit from listening to it. And I'm going to put all of Karolina's information in the description of this, so make sure you check her out. Disobey with Grace. And have an amazing Friday. Thank you so much. Thank you, Karolina.
Thank you for having me. Bye.